Hi everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and today's contract tip, we are continuing on with the changes that the Georgia Association of Realtors, or GAR, has made to the 2021 contract package. So today's tip, we are going to talk about the counteroffer form, and I love this change. I hope you guys like it too, but as a broker, I absolutely really like this change, and I think it is a change that clarifies the procedures or what happens. Well, let me just get into it, and let me know what you think. Comment below. So the form is the Georgia Association of Realtors GAR Form F249, counteroffer or modification of the unaccepted original offer. So we talk about that as the counteroffer form. I got a little bit closer. So they've made two changes. The first one is absolutely for clarification reasons. So what it says under paragraph A, it says previous counteroffers rejected. The party making the counteroffer acknowledges that in doing so, number one, it, meaning this current counteroffer, constitutes a rejection of the original offer as presented and all previous counteroffers. Number two, the original offer and all previous counteroffers are no longer available for acceptance. And three, no previous counteroffers shall be considered to be part of any agreement between the parties. And four, nothing requires the other party to continue the negotiations. So part of that, numbers 3 and 4 had always been in there. But what got changed this year is an acknowledgement of the party initiating the counteroffer, and number 1 and number 2. So what does that mean? Well, the last year's counteroffer, all it said is any and all previous counteroffers made by either party are hereby rejected and shall not be considered part of this agreement. But what this year's says is, I just lost it, so give me 1 second. What this year's version has in there is it now has the language in there that there is no going back. Once you initiate a counteroffer, that means that you do not, if the counteroffer is not accepted, you cannot go back and just sign something that you have been presented with previously. In other words, if you are, let's say you're a buyer, you write an offer to a seller. Let's say the seller then initiates a counteroffer back to the buyer. The buyer does not accept let's just do it one more round. Buyer makes an offer to the seller. Seller writes a counteroffer and makes it to the buyer. Buyer writes a counteroffer and makes it to the seller. The seller does not agree and does not sign this second counteroffer. What this language now means, starting on these forms in 2021, the buyer, as long as it had not expired, as long as the time limit, if there had been one on the counteroffer, not the time limit of the original offer, but the time limit on any counteroffer, as long as that had not expired, prior to 2021, the buyer could go back and say, okay, we still want the house. We're just going to sign the first counteroffer that the seller sent us, and since they won't agree to our second counteroffer. Nope, no longer can do that. Basically, what this new language means is once a party initiates a counteroffer, there is no going back. You cannot go back and accept the original offer, and you may not go back and accept any of the unexpired counteroffers. So that is definitely more clarification of the intention of the contracts. You can't hedge your bet, so to speak. And again, the easiest way to think of it when you're talking to a client is once we initiate and once we send over this counteroffer, there's no going back. In other words, you can't go back and accept the original offer, and you may not go back and accept any unexpired counter offers. Now, the only other change they made, again, was just a little bit for clarification reasons, and this was in paragraph C. So in paragraph C of the new one for 2021, it states effective accepting this counteroffer. When this counteroffer is signed by the buyer and the seller, and a copy of the same is delivered to both parties, the original offer, as modified by this counteroffer, constitutes a legally binding agreement. Since the original offer, including exhibits thereto, is incorporated by reference into this counteroffer, only the counteroffer needs to be signed to create a legally binding agreement between the parties. So the verb that had already been in there to some extent. The verbiage they changed is they added the sentence for more clarification that says the original offer as modified by this counteroffer constitutes a legally binding agreement. What it used to say back in 2020 is it used to say when this counteroffer is signed by the buyer and seller and a copy of the same delivered to both parties, a legally binding agreement shall be formed. So it was just a little bit confusing. This one is definitely much more clear that everybody understands that what the legally binding contract is the original offer plus only one counter offer. There's only going to be one counter offer that is fully executed and signed by both buyer and seller. So that's what creates the actual legally binding agreement. The terms binding upon the parties is the original with whatever has been changed or modified with only one counter offer that is signed. So I'd love to hear your comments below. What do you think? Be interested to hear what your take has been in practice in the past, and if you like this change as much as I do as a broker. Thank you guys so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.